I am so giddy about this segment, notably because of the video we're about to watch. It's called, quote, "I'm not here to say I told you so," Kamala Harris says. This is what, quote, "we knew would happen." Kamala Harris just a few hours ago spoke publicly to talk about Trump's recent, basically, nuking of our economy. Yesterday I did a segment talking about Trump's Liberation Day. He made this big speech, very celebratory. Everyone in MAGA was doing the big dance party. You know, they were celebrating. It's Liberation Day. The economy is saved. The very next day, the market opens. And everything is red. Everything is red. Most notably, I think it was the S&P 500 went down 10 points overnight. Market closed. Overnight, market opens, down 10 points instantly. It might have been the NASDAQ that was down 10 points, though. I might be mixing up S&P 500 and NASDAQ. I have not been tracking the S&P 500 since Trump won, and I quickly and promptly pulled all of my money out of the S&P 500. That was where I was keeping my investing money, was in the S&P 500, and when Trump won, I made a pretty safe bet and said, I best sell. I best sell now, and just chill, and not fuck with the stock market until things are so in the hole from Trump's actions that I can't not end up winning in the long run if I buy. So that's the current plan. If in like 2 years or even a year, the economy is like decimated and shares for like the S&P 500 are at like pennies compared to where they are now, I'll probably spend a decent amount on shares and then hold on to them until we get a Dem in office, and sell at the end of that Dem's first term. If they get 2 terms and they win the next election, sell at the end of their second term. Pretty reliable, I think, for like a slow, very not risky investment, I would say. Regardless, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked on investing talk. Comment down below. I want to know if you feel a satisfying I told you so vibe towards all of America, particularly the MAGA people who bitched and complained about Bidenomics. Bidenomics is so bad. Complained about the egg prices, and now here we are reveling in our schadenfreude as the economy crumbles to shambles after all of Trump's hollow promises that MAGA so quickly jumped to gloat about being the imminent future we would all get to enjoy. And now, this is, I think, the first time I've seen Kamala speak since her concession speech. She's here to tell us, I'm not here to say I told you so, but that is politician for I fucking told you so.
When one person, when a few stand with the courage, that is the courage exhibited by the leaders in this room every day, to stand, to have the courage to say, I feel fear. The courage to say what is happening is wrong. The courage to say that there is a way that we must chart to get through this. Understanding our power in the democracy we still have if we hold on to it. Courage is contagious.
What could have been, everyone? What could have been? That, of course, was former Vice President Kamala Harris speaking at a summit of women leaders earlier this evening. It's one of the first times we've seen her speak out since her November election loss. She hasn't been out there a ton. We'll see if she comes out more. She also spoke about the current state of fear in our country.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, you know, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
That's politician for I fucking told you so. Like, come on. Like, at this point, she has to laugh. Like, when you're in her position, like, I've felt a fraction of how she must feel, right? I have been canceled so many times by people who've attempted to attack my character, who, like, lately my method, when people, like, I did the Demon Mama stuff and the Keffels stuff, and it worked surprisingly well. I just decided, you know what? People are nonstop attacking my character. I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm just gonna be the bigger man. Zan, can you raise your microphone's volume a bit? Thank you for telling me it's low. People are very, very nervous to tell me when my mic audio isn't in a good place. And so anyone who's willing to speak up and let me know that it needs to be adjusted, they're doing me a favor. So let me know if that's better, or if it's perfect, or a little too high or too low. You guys are my audio testers. You guys have to tell me if something's off. Anyway, as I was saying, my method for a while now has been to try to be the bigger person and just focus on me. And I figure, you know, the people I dislike are pretty awful. And awful people tend to do awful things and get their behavior found out in the long run. So I'll just chill. And that ended up working out pretty well with the Demon Mama and Keffels stuff when you consider what ended up happening to their reputation shortly after and what they got exposed for. And I guess you could say exposed themselves for in a way. And I guess this is kind of a similar feeling I imagine Kamala Harris is feeling, right? Getting constantly attacked on the grounds of moral character and on the grounds of ability so much. These blatant lies that were specifically designed to attack your strongest points and turn them into weaknesses in the eyes of the people. And then within a month or two, everything you said about the guy you were up against comes true. Everyone is realizing, whether they like it or not, that you weren't full of shit. You were telling the truth. You were saying what was the case. And the amount of I told you so energy emanating, the vibe, I can relate. Only to a fraction of a degree of what Kamala Harris must feel right now, because this happened on a literal national level in an election. But man, yeah, all she can do at this point is laugh. I'd be there with her. I'd be doing the same thing if I was her.
First of all, she predicted a lot of these things that were going to happen, and many people are definitely scared. We see that out there. But we're also seeing...
It's not S-N-P, it's S-and-P. I know I say S-and-P because it sounds like N the way I say it, but that's just how I say and. Maybe it's a Southern thing. But it's S and, like ampersand, P 500 with a space between the P and the 500.
That people are going out in full force to resist, with mass mobilization across the country, including a huge nationwide rally called Hands Off, planned on Saturday. And joining me now is one of the people headlining the rally in D.C., Congressman Jamie Raskin, who is, of course, a Democrat of Maryland, also ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, it's great to see you. First, it's been a pretty good week for Democrats, I think. A week where people saw lots of candidates announce they were going to run. You saw Senator Booker do an overnight inspired...
Apparently, Fox News has removed their stock market ticker because the market is so fucked right now, and they can't criticize Trump for it because he watches Fox and Friends all the time.
Aspiring moment on the floor. Lots of good things happening in Wisconsin. And you're going to be the headline speaker for the Hands Off rally, as I mentioned, in D.C., with an expected attendance of 12,500 people. We'll see. Where do you see this mobilization effort against the Trump administration policies at this moment?
Well, you know, I was telling everybody back when people were complaining about where's the Democratic leadership, where's the energy, where's the focus, that it takes a while to fully absorb the shock of these events. I mean, we're talking about a full-blown attempt at an authoritarian takeover of our country and a purge of federal workers, and we're being hit on all fronts. But now everybody is in a fighting mood. I am down here in Orlando, Florida with my buddy Maxwell Frost. He just kicked off his year-long organizing program, and he's the co-chair of Democracy Summer. We're going to be announcing Democracy Summer. We're hoping.
Did you see Trump crashed other countries' stock markets as well, similar to 2008 levels? You know what's going to happen? Trump is going to exclusively acknowledge that and claim this is a massive victory, and a substantial amount of MAGA is going to roll with it, and that's the sad part.
Hoping to have more than 1,000 young people across the country working full-time on Democratic campaigns and studying with great Democratic heroes of the past. The energy is extraordinary. It's astounding. What is this, a Thursday night? There were, I don't know, 350 people just packed in the firefighters hall, and lots of...
I'm not interested in their commentary. I want to see more conversation about the stock market. So we got Kamala Harris. She got her "I told you so" in. But now, here we are.
Good afternoon.
And the economy president, the guy who is elected primarily on the basis of improving the economy, let's take a look at his economy. We tried to tell them. They voted for the leopards eating people's faces party. Let's see how much of people's faces, how many faces have been eaten by the leopards so far. Let's take a look. Let's see how bad the damage is.
From New York, we're coming on the air with breaking news about an exceptionally brutal day on Wall Street. President Trump's tariffs sparking a huge sell-off today, sending all three major markets plunging. The trading day there, you're hearing the bell ringing. It's closing. The free fall comes after the president's announcement yesterday to slap reciprocal tariffs on global trading partners.
Liberation Day!
Let's look at the final numbers now.
Woo!
On Wall Street, the Dow losing almost a little over 4% of its value. The S&P 500 losing about 5%. The NASDAQ down about 6%. Let's go to Christine Romans right now, who is at the New York Stock Exchange. Christine, we've seen bad days on Wall Street before that in the final hour, suddenly the buying opportunities and everything seems okay. This isn't that.
This is not that. In fact, you did not get any of that late day buying, people trying to find a bargain. They don't think there are any bargains here, at least right now. 1,700 points almost on the Dow Industrials, almost 5% on the S&P 500. Those are big one-day moves. In fact, when you look at the move in this market today, we haven't seen a day like this in the S&P and the NASDAQ since March, early 2020. Remember what was happening there?
We're already at COVID numbers of economic damage under Trump 3 months in. We're not even going through a global pandemic yet. Keep in mind, that is not off the table over the next 4 years, considering how retarded Trump and his administration are when it comes to health and safety. So we're at COVID numbers of economic devastation, and there's no pandemic right now outside of like the leftovers of COVID that's never going away. COVID's forever now, but like outside of that, like this is just happening, and it's gonna get worse, and then it's gonna get worse, and then it's gonna get way worse because of other reasons.
And that was COVID, when the entire global economy was shutting down. So that was the last time we saw a really tough day like that. Dow had a bad day back in 2022. That was because of really sky-high inflation and the worries there. So that gives you a sense of just the dread among investors about what the president's tariff regime will mean for these companies and the big global supply chains that they depend on. Another average I like to look at is called the Russell 2000. That is 2,000 smaller companies. These are really the backbone of the American economy. That one down even worse, almost 7% at one point, Lester.
Small businesses
Christine,
are
I'll ask
suffering.
you to stand by while I turn to our senior White House correspondent, Gabe Gutierrez.
For those that don't know what these mean, because like I can't assume every person who watches my streams is like I wouldn't say super. You have to be super aware of economics to know what these are, but not everyone knows. The S&P 500 is an index fund of basically all consumer, all of the consumer market, if I'm not mistaken. Dow Jones is industrial stuff, like all of the markets that have to do with industrial production in the U.S. They all have sort of like a combined almost stock. Like you're investing in a fraction of a stock from all these companies is a way of putting it. For the S&P 500, I think it's like consumer goods. For the Dow, it's industrial stuff, and NASDAQ, according to Lancer, is tech. I didn't know what NASDAQ was, but yeah, I think NASDAQ is tech. Then S&P 500 is like broader consumer goods. Dow is industrial shit. And an index fund is like when you buy a share of an index fund. The best way to put it is you're buying a slice of a share of a bunch of different companies, and the S&P 500 is 500 of the biggest companies that you regularly buy from on a normal basis. I think like the Dow or NASDAQ, I think Dow is like companies like General Electric, and the S&P 500 is companies like Walmart, for just a point of example.
He's in Doral, Florida, where the president is just about to land. Gabe, we're getting some mixed messaging from the White House on all this.
Yeah, that's right, Lester. For the last day or so, White House officials have been insisting that this change in tariff policy is not a negotiation. And yet, a short time ago, President Trump telling reporters that he wants the rest of the world to try and make a deal. Now, as you said, he is heading here to Florida, to his Doral Golf Club. But as he departed Washington, he did speak to reporters a short time ago. Here's what he said.
The markets are going to boom. The stock is going to boom. The country is going to boom. And the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make...
You ever hear the term fake it till you make it? Trump is the definition of that.
a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball. And I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. The thing that people have to talk about, we're up almost to $7 trillion of investment coming into our country. And you'll see how it's going to turn out. Our country's going to boom.
The president there in his role as cheerleader-in-chief trying to calm those markets. But Lester, yesterday I spoke to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and I asked him what he...
I know 5, 4, 3% doesn't sound big. It's huge. Or sorry, it's more like 6, 5, and 4%. Doesn't sound big, but it's pretty big. It's pretty fucking big. These are pretty damaging attacks to this is COVID numbers. The best comparison I can make is this is as bad as it was during COVID.
Would tell Americans who are worried that they may pay more in the short term. He said that they weren't really sure what the price effects will be, essentially adding to this uncertainty. But White House officials say that this is all part of their plan, the realignment of global trade.
It's all part of the plan.
And to trust in Trump. Lester.
All right, thanks. Let me go back to Christine Romans again at the New York Stock Exchange. Christine, what does tomorrow and the day, next day, and the day after that look like here, assuming that these tariffs are laid in place?
Well, today the stock market lost $2 trillion in value. So you heard the president talk about the trillions will be coming in. Today, $2 trillion lost. And the big question is, will companies feel like there is certainty to make their investments? Will they be able to grow and move forward? Or are they going to be in a defensive crouch here and not spending money? That's when you start to see, you know, a recession, potentially. Some economists are saying, others are saying that we could skirt a recession. But certainly a lot of questions here about what this means for business spending and what it means for hiring in the months ahead.
Yeah, and Christine, it's been interesting to listen all day to what's coming from different countries, the language, the talk about retaliation, or in some cases, the lack of talk about retaliation. Is that the other big shoe to drop here as to what other countries will do in response to this?
Absolutely, because
oh man, there hasn't even been retaliation from the other countries we've tariffed. Some of the biggest markets in the world besides the US are planning a massive retaliation against the US, and the markets haven't even responded to that yet. This is just them responding to the news of that because there's been a mass sell-off in preparation, but the actual damage hasn't been done yet outside of like the damage of people prepping for it, you know? Because no one wants to be holding any shares and have the hot potato in their hand when this hits. Because there's going to be retaliation. It's going to hit the market hard. No one wants to be holding when that happens.
We have seen this before in a trade war when one party fires a shot, another fires a shot back, and that could mean that U.S. products could.
Now, what are your thoughts on potential revolution? Guys, you have to understand, there is like a margin where revolution happens, okay? When your life is high enough quality that losing that quality is something that most people aren't comfortable with. Think like, we have internet, we have power, running water, and TV, and amenities, and even luxuries that make our lives bearable. Yeah, we get used to these things and it becomes our standard, but I think most people don't want to engage in a violent revolution and plunge the country into war or take part in that, even if it started without their involvement, because they don't want to stir the pot on what they already know is stable and safe. Most people, if things are okay enough, don't want to stir the pot like that. Revolutions don't tend to come about from good enough times, right? And then if times are bad enough, no one can, do a revolution because they're just too demoralized. There's a level of so downtrodden and so demoralized that people can be where they don't have anything to lose or anything to gain. And then there's the perfect middle ground where everyone's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And that is when revolution happens. Right now, and not really in the near future, do I see a point where Americans will have so little to lose and so much to gain that they'll engage in revolution. I don't see that yet. Maybe that'll change, but right now I don't see it.
Could be targeted, really important exports that the U.S. has. I'm thinking like pork and soybeans and so many tech services and a lot of these places where the U.S. does run a big surplus. Those could be rich targets for some of these countries to try to prove a point that the U.S. isn't in here alone, that it is a global trading system.
All right, Gabe, let me ask you about how the White House has handled this. It seems that they have left at least some opening that this might have been a response in the market, but at the same time expressing this faith that this will cause companies to build and sell in America.
Yeah, that's right, Lester, and that is all part of the president's plan. And White House officials have been stressing that their goal is to get American manufacturing
it's all part of the plan.
Back here in the U.S. They say that businesses have been decimated over the last several decades. And Lester, this is something.
Remember, the whole we're bringing manufacturing back to America thing is all well and good unless you're also tariffing inputs, which Trump is doing. You cannot manufacture in America and source all of your raw materials for said manufacturing entirely from America. Even if Trump successfully conquers and annexes all of Greenland and Canada, it won't be enough resources to just do manufacturing in America and have all the buying be in America and all the resource procurement be in America. Trump has to at least lift the tariffs on inputs if we're going to do American manufacturing. Hell, inputs should have never been tariffed in the first place if we were trying to encourage manufacturing here. There's no reason for it. If any, I get it if Trump wanted to tariff foreign lumber, for instance, right? Because Trump wants to destroy all of the forests of America. It's what Republicans want. It makes sense in their worldview. But to tariff Chinese steel when we're trying to outdo their car industry, it's like, we need steel for cars and other manufacturing. We're trying to outdo Chinese manufacturing to tariff their steel. We're buying steel from them to do manufacturing here instead of there. He's so fucking retarded. I cannot stress this to you guys enough. He's a businessman that doesn't understand business. A retarded 25-year-old internet streamer understands business better than him. He inherited an empire from his father that he is slowly but surely degrading into nothing, that is only held aloft by the crime he's willing to engage in and the fraud he's willing to engage in to keep everything held together. It's pins and twines over there, I assure you. Evil retard. He is an evil retard. Daily reminder. I cannot stress it enough.
Thing that President Trump was speaking about decades ago before he entered politics, speaking about this very thing. He repeatedly says that tariff is his favorite word in the dictionary, and the White House keeps reiterating that this is something that he promised during the campaign, and they view it as a promise kept. Now, of course, a lot remains to be seen how this all plays out, but so far, the president shows no signs of backing off his policy, Lester.
Gabe Gutierrez, thank you very much, and Christine Romans as well. That concludes this NBC News special report. We'll have much more on the markets and what it means.
Yeah. So, America is back, huh? The markets are booming, huh? Bidenomics just wasn't working, huh? Well, as Kamala Harris said, I told you so. Anyway, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable in any way, then please consider hitting the like button. Whether you're watching this live or after the fact when it goes up as its own video, every single thumbs up that you guys leave helps to boost my content and my channel in the algorithm, and forces YouTube to recommend it to more people, new people, who've never seen my stuff before. So consider it. It really means a lot. The same goes for commenting, too. So likes and comments, thanks to everybody who does it. It really, really does help, especially on my new uploads. And of course, if you want to see more stuff from me and you're new here and you want to make sure you get notified when I upload new things, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell icon and turn on all notifications on YouTube. And of course, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, I have social medias linked down below in the description. Though you should definitely, out of everything else, join my fan Discord. It's linked down below and it's the main hub of my community and fan base. I host gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights there. I even announce all my new uploads and streams there, so if you don't get notified by YouTube, you won't miss it as long as you're in there. And of course, finally, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or maybe buy some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you all so much for watching, as always, and have a good one.